So here we are. In previous video, if you saw it, I showed this palette here of very inexpensive but beautiful colors. And what I've done is I've taken some color, this one here. This is I'm not even sure what that's called, but this one's a Payne's Gray, I believe. And here I just mixed the two together. Those are the colors we're going to use for this painting, hopefully. And we'll probably use some white, what's called white gouache later on. So we're going to get started here. Now for me, to be honest with you, because watercolor paint has a mind of its own, every painting I do is a bit of an experiment. Never quite know how it's going to turn out. I've taken my piece of watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press paper. This is not cotton paper, it's just pulp paper, so it doesn't hold water very well compared to the cotton. I've taped it off in the borders to allow for a nice white border around the painting when I take off the tape. And we probably should do a little bit of a sketch. Let's see, what are we going to do here? Well, we could do a hill coming down like that, another one coming in like that. This will be sky. We'll have some trees here, and maybe one big tree in here, and we'll just maybe just show part of it here, sort of like that. Okay, you know, some tufts of grass and things like that. So let's get started here. Going to get my brushes together here. So I've got the outline. I don't know if you can actually see that. There's a little light penciled in drawing there. We don't worry too much about the pencil marks. They're just there. Going to get covered up. Sometimes you can erase them later if you want to. Sometimes they just get embedded in the paper, but it doesn't matter. And my water pot over here out of camera range, you can't see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a light, I'm going to put some water in the sky area here. Now, because it's very, very dry in our house, really dry. I mean, it's like 30% humidity. It's terrible. And my paper dries so quickly because of that. You'd like it to stay a little bit wet. But we do what we do. Now I have the paper, just the board is just a piece of cardboard. I've got the paper attached to. It's propped up on an angle here on my tape. It's a little bit awkward for me to do this, not get in the way of the camera. Don't know how well I'm doing. I can't see what I'm recording really. I'm just doing it. So there's our wet paper now. Let's see if we can, if you can see, it's got a sheen on it. Maybe you can't see that. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a sheen on it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drop in some color. We'll keep it pretty light though. So this is just sky. Maybe keep it a bit darker in the corners and across the top. Just going to put it flat for a little while. And some of the things you can do is you can, for example, you can lift out clouds with a damp brush. So like this, you can make some clouds up here. Doesn't work too well on this particular paper. I think I'm getting out of camera range there. But you get the idea. So we're just going to leave that now. Things are starting to dry off already, so I need to be in a hurry here. I'm probably going to mess things up because I just put really wet. I just made it very wet. Not supposed to do that when the surface is starting to dry, because you get what's called backruns. So I'm going to drop in here some paint to create some background trees. And these, you don't need to be very careful with this. It's just find it quite hard to see the way I've got my lighting set up. It'd be better if I was sitting down. But there you go. You can see that we're getting what looks a little bit like trees in the background. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Let's throw a bit more color in here. Just wanted to sort of give you an idea of how easy this can be, really. It's very simple. You could just buy some pretty cheap paint and paper and give it a try. Now you can see my paper is drying off, so I'm not getting the bleeding that I'd like for some of these trees now. But anyway, that's what it's beginning to look like. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, I think. So I'm just going to dry that off. So close your ears. I'm going to use my hair dryer. Well, it's actually Michelle's hair dryer. Okay, so there we go. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to throw in some shadows. Snow, you may think that snow is pure white. It's not. It reflects the sky. It has shadow areas in it. And so I'm just going to use some of the sky color here just to show that. And we're going to create some shadow areas. Blend that in a bit. Try to get rid of some of the hard edges that appear on this paper. And we're going to make this much darker in this area down here, because we'll pretend that that's where there's a real shadow area down in there. Okay, so I'm not too happy with the way this paper is reacting, to be honest with you. But you get the general idea. And we'll just darken that up a little bit down in here, I think. There we go. And we'll add some shadow on this side too, sort of give us an indication of a slope going down here. Okay. Try to lift some of that out. This really did not work too well over there, but yeah, we're just playing around here. Okay. So we'll dry that off. And then we're going to come in and try to build up that big tree on the right hand side. Okay. So we're going to need some pretty dark color for that. Sorry about this. Tape's getting stuck. Okay, so let's see what we can do here to build up some dark color here. Just using the Payne's Gray, kind of just dabbing it on, not being too careful. There we go. So now we got what looks a little bit like a tree. Not very good, but yeah, it is. I'm going to dry that off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called white gouache. It's a water-based paint, but it's opaque. And we're going to use that. We're going to put some of that on to make our snow on the branches. So just turn that around like that. I don't know if you can see that or not. Put that white gouache. Take a clean brush. And we'll just dab some of that on. See what's happening there? I'm not being overly careful with this painting. I'm just kind of dabbing and doing whatever just to get the paint on there quickly. Just to give you an idea what this is all about. It's pretty easy to do, really. There we go. And I'm going to sign the painting. If I find my pen. There it is. Oh, we should throw in a couple of little grasses and things maybe before we finish. Oh, well, that's not working too well. You know, sometimes you're better off to just stop. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is just stop at that point. And just to bring it up to the camera again, show you what we got. Definitely not the greatest painting, but let's take the tape off. And then we pull the tape away from the painting so we don't tear the paper. The white gouache is still a little bit wet. And there we go. So, hope you enjoyed that, making this little card, 5" by 7" painting, pretty quick. Enjoy.